everyone. We're streaming. It worked. How's everybody today? Happy Tuesday. It is September 9th, and we are here with episode 2 of Rise Like a Phoenix podcast. My name is Daniela. I'm here with my dear co-host and friend, Stephanie Hartwell, the closing.
Hello.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for stopping in, for spending a little time with us now or on replay. So Stephanie, why don't you set us in the direction that we're intending today?
Well, I know we've talked about this topic quite a lot because there is so much different opposing information out there about what it really takes to be resilient. And for many years, I've been teaching a little workshop called the Roadmap to Resilience. And I would really love to dive deeper into this topic because I think, times are interesting. And many people are going through really tumultuous ups and downs in their lives. And resilience has always been something that has been made out that either you are a resilient person or not, where actually the truth is that it's a recipe. It's like a cake. A plus B plus C will make a cake. And so I wanted to go deeper into this about what are the really tangible things that anyone can do and that they're very simple and easy to do to weather the storm, if you like.
Let's really define resilience. What would you?
Yes. Well, I think we can all pretty much agree that life is going to hand you some curveballs. That's a given. It's not an if. It's definitely going to happen. And I'm always surprised and shocked that nowhere in our early education, or in fact in our adult education, anybody ever sits us down and says, this is going to get tough at some points, and here's what you need to do and how to get through it optimally. Because, of course, being the closure coach, I have a lot of people sit in front of me on a daily basis that those really difficult big things have just piled up, and at no point have they been given any support, guidance, or resources, or even just the knowledge that they can themselves get through it really, really well just on their own.
And before we go on, remind everyone, in case someone didn't listen to the first episode yet, why doesn't time just heal things?
Oh, my favorite one.
I love to get you going on that one.
So that's probably the biggest misconception about healing or about time.
We could do
So
a whole episode about
we
those
will
things,
do.
like I grew up hearing, like, Danny, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words can never hurt you. And I'm like,
Yes,
this
they can.
is nuts, right? Okay, so all these isms that, well, time heals all wounds. Just give
No,
it time. Just give it
no.
time. Okay.
Actually, well, all time does, and I think you put it so well, all time does is puts more things at the front of the conveyor belt. And so the thing that was really overwhelming has just now shifted to the back. But the problems with things at the back of fridges, at the back of sofas, at the back of shelves, they start to rot. And that's really what's happening as well in your brain. The stuff that's gotten shoved to the back has now started to fester and mold and
All cleaned that mayo jar out.
yeah.
There's that takeout container. You're like, oh my gosh, was that from like 6 months ago?
Think of that moldy takeout container as what is happening at the back of your brain called unprocessed emotions of overwhelming life events. And so really I think that's the best metaphor we've come up yet.
Oh my
um,
God.
really that's really what's happening is because at no point do we have any guidance, any resources, any really step-by-step instruction on how to actually process things. And no longer in society, which is really important to pinpoint as well, no longer do we have structures in society that help us process it. If you look at them very, very early on in a kind of caveman days. We had drumming, we had singing, we had community, we had ritual, we had fire. And then even fast forward, even to the point of the 40s, 50s, still some of the 60s, you had church organizations, community organizations, people lived in villages, people were dependent on each other before we had supermarkets and things like that. So all those structures have now fallen away, and we are solitary beings in front of our solitary computers, looking at our solitary phones. Now more than ever, it's important that that message of self-regulation and self-processing, and that you can, in fact, get through really big stuff knowing how to do it. So that's really important.
And
Time.
and when you took us on that little historical walk through time,
Yeah.
the timeline, we also involved our bodies in every
Oh my
dimension.
goodness.
The
Good.
quality of our food was different. It wasn't Franken food.
No.
And everything you just described involved the somatic involvement.
Somatic. Can you just describe somatic for the people who don't know
Oh,
that?
using our bodies, think about coming together and drumming and singing and dancing, right? So we're going maybe way back in time. You may have images of fires and and cave paintings. And then you bring us even into the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. We were still moving our bodies.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the body was involved in all of these connections, in all of the supports that we turn to.
Which is also the point where we then get into the next little pickle, because a lot of things out there, well intentions, with well intentions, um, I'm not going to say pretend, but they would like to think that they bring full process and full closure. And I'm sure, like many of the clients I talk to every single day, they say, oh, I've done this and this and this and this tool and this modality, but it just doesn't feel. Or a lot of people say, I understand it in my head, but I don't feel it in my heart. And that is because well intentioned, many other things that don't necessarily involve all the steps that we're going to cover in a moment, basically just give you nervous system regulation, or what I call take the lid off the pressure cooker a little, so it isn't so intense anymore. And then when it isn't so intense anymore, then it feels like you can cope with it. But coping and surviving is something completely different than clearing, getting closure, and healing. Those are completely different things. And like I always say, we already have our language. A problem shared is a problem halved. It's not a problem removed. It's not closure. It's not letting go. So for those of us who have done many other tools and modalities, you might find that things don't feel as intense. But the question is have they truly left your nervous system and your physical body?
And one more question, because that's how my brain works,
Yeah.
before we get into the map of resilience. Do you often or sometimes work with clients that are in their late 60s, 70s, up into their 80s? Here's why I'm asking.
Mhm.
It's not unusual. We work with the demographics typically between 40 and 65, and every now and then, we'll have a brilliant elder come into our programs, and I hear more often than not that at that point in their life, they don't want to go back and look through everything, that I'm 75 years old. I just want to focus on the positive and can you still at that stage of your beautiful life journey still get closure without having to go spend like, slogging through the mud and, taking on big epic healing journey and have a remarkable impact on the remaining years that you're alive?
Absolutely. I think the thing you just really highlighted is this idea of not wanting to drag up the past is actually completely built on the assumption that A, it would be terrible, it would take a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of money. And none of those things are true anymore in 2025, because now we have, amongst many other modalities, the rise of neuroscience, where we understand that your mind is also a brain. And whereas before, the only information we had that working through things would take months or years, even in talk therapy with a therapist, we now know that, wait a second, there is a different way of doing this that generally can be done in an hour and a half, sometimes even less, because cleaning the brain is very much like cleaning your kitchen or your loft or your basement. It is a physical activity that has to involve the body. In this particular case, I use a modality called havening. And then I also invite the mind, and if you so choose, the spirit into the equation to get total closure. And that's really the important piece of getting closure. You are here as a body first. That is your, that is the undeniable piece of information. You are here in this body. The next bit is that you have a mind. That is also undeniable. But this assumption that the overwhelming life stuff or the trauma only happens to the mind is not true. It is also happening to the body, not only at the level of blood pressure, blood sugar, inflammation, nervous system dysregulation, things like that, but it is impacting your brain directly, because the amygdala, which is a tiny little structure in your brain, actually takes active pictures of all the things that have ever happened to you in order to keep you safe. But then when those pile up and you don't process them, it would be the same thing as if you just used your kitchen and never cleaned it. So then it piles up.
All right, beautiful. So on to resilience. And Deborah, I just want to say thank you. Your wisdom is mwah, gorgeous in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. It's so sweet to be here with you. What an honor.
Thank you.
Okay, resilience.
Resilience, right. Well, I know you and I, Daniela, we've been through some big storms in our life. At the beginning of my big one, I had no idea what to do. I don't know about you. Did you know what to do?
I, well, I mean, each of us, you and I, and probably everyone listening, you can find, if you look over the timeline of your beautiful, precious life, you can find multiple storms of varying sizes. Some were category one, some were category threes, and some leveled the your environment for some years. Um, so sometimes I've known right what to do. And I would say at the level 5 ones, typically my style has been to just be frozen.
Mm-hmm.
It usually takes very caring friends to do something drastic. Like in the midst of one storm in my life, I had two friends, Lori and Halmea, that said, get up. You're going to go walk the Camino in Europe. Like that was their like, get up. And they didn't even know how frozen I was.
Yeah,
They just know, but your friends know even if you don't say it. They just know.
yeah.
So I would say when I haven't known, angels in various disguises
Beautiful. Oh,
have stepped in because it's not my time. It obviously wasn't my time to completely sink, or I would.
No, for sure not. Yeah. So the journey that I went on with my big storm started in, I mean, like you said, there were little ones, but the big category 5 started for me in 2012. And the unique thing was that at that stage I was already coaching, and I was deeply steeped in personal development and stoicism and all the spirituality that you could think of, left, right, and center. And then when a couple of really big events piled up in succession, health problems, divorce, deaths, things like that, I found myself with PTSD, which in the beginning started out by me not being able to leave the house, like proper agoraphobia, which is common with severe physical PTSD. I just never realized that just ordinary life events could do that to you. That was news to me. And then the next kind of realization came along that I wonder if we're all suffering from varying levels of PTSD that we're not even aware of. So it was like, oh my goodness, I'm clearly not unique in this. The only thing that's happened here is everything's bunched up in a short amount of time in a very high intensity level. So then, having had all that background in, personal development, psychology, all those different modalities, I'm like, this is going to be a piece of cake. And it wasn't. So as I threw everything at it, I kind of, over the course of 10 years, distilled the things that really made a difference. Also, in my case, what was also unique is I was so severely ill that the things that had worked before for me, like exercise, traveling, seeing my friends, was taken away from the table of options. So it's like, ooh, wait a second. So all the things that I knew would work, well, would temporarily bolster my nervous system are now not there anymore. So, what can I do? I was bedbound for many, many months as a result of the illness. What can I do just by myself lying in my bed without even being able to get up? And so I developed what I call the Wonder Wall. And these for me are the three most important elements that I tried and tested for myself, but more importantly, then over many years afterwards, worked on with clients, because that's the real thing. Can it work for many people, and can it work at the depth that we really needed to work? So the Wonder Wall is just, if people want to even do it straight away with us, is a A4 sheet of paper that you take and you fold it into three sections. So in like a concertina way, so that you can then unfold it again and you have three complete separate columns. And I encourage you or advise you that you should stick this piece of paper either on your fridge, next to your bed, or where you brush your teeth, because you are going to start putting things on this that you need to see every single day. And the three big headings that we are going to explore in a minute. The first one, the first column is all about gratitude. And I know that comes very, very hard when things are really, really difficult, but bear with me for now. The second column is what are you being sometimes forced, sometimes invited, sometimes encouraged to learn, to focus on, to do differently. So the second column is all about what is new that you are having to focus on. And the third column is all about the horizon, which is either what would your perfect day be, or what would you most like to be, do, and have? And that's usually when people say to me, oh, but I can't have those things. That's not important. Like when I was horizontally bedbound for goodness forever, I still visualized what I would do if I was well. And I will explain it in a minute, because then the other three columns make sense. So column one is gratitude. Gratitude for what is still supporting you, what is still going right, what is still a resource for you. Like you said, where are the angels, or what you call them? Where are the supporters? Where are the friends? Because whenever you are going through a complete storm of category 5 or category 1, there will always be some things that are still going right and well that you are starting to forget because your brain is over focusing on what's going wrong.
And I think the part about gratitude that this will be obvious to all of you listening, um, but it's worth mentioning, especially when we're in stormy waters, is that the gratitude list doesn't have to be long.
No,
In fact, it's best if you, I find for myself, it's best I go into allowing that to rise up and find me honestly versus pushing or forcing anything that I should be grateful for.
absolutely.
Because the most sweet, truth-filled things that are really personal and really specific to you will rise up in that invitation in the space between your thoughts. You don't have to go dinging around and shooting on yourself to find those. Just allowing them to rise up and find you, right? Open invitation.
Yeah, yeah.
And let that be just simple and truth-filled and authentic.
100%. And that's why I've steered my clients away from doing gratitude journals. I think, that whole concept of a book and then you never look at it again works for very, very, very few people. The idea of having it in your space of vision daily and just adding one thing at a time. And I also always encourage people to start with the absolute basics. Do you have running water? Do you have food? Are you warm and comfortable? For me, it was as basic as I'm lying in bed and I'm safe in bed. That is where I started. It's like the next day, I have food to eat. I have money to pay for electricity. It's not these sweepingly large things. We have to start at the absolute basics. Some days it was like, I am still breathing. It was as simple as that. Of course, then as you go along, and I always say, you have to do not put 5 different things on it. Put one thing a day because there's a whole psychology about the threshold. If you are forcing yourself to do 20 things a day, you're not going to do it. But one extra element a day, one extra gratitude a day, very quickly you'll get to a point where the things that are really juicy, that really move your heart and your soul, they're going to pop up naturally because you've built the muscle. I don't know if you also find that that's the case. It's like when we kind of go into the absolute basics first, then all of a sudden the things that do warm our heart, like friends or supporters, and it can be things like, in my case, it was like out of nowhere, a podcast popped up, or I saw something on a Facebook feed. Sometimes it's the thing that are supporting you and leading you that aren't actually, things that you would ordinarily think of. Or some days it's the sunshine or a little robin on your windowsill. It doesn't have to be these big sweeping things. It can be the little things that really touch your heart. But what it does absolutely do is stabilize your mind to say that not everything is going wrong. Does that make sense?
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Okay, great. So if we've done that, the thing is to only add one thing at a time. Don't add anything that isn't authentic to you, and just focus on one time in the day when you're passing it to get your cup of tea, or when you walk past, to make your bed or brush your teeth. Just look at it once, twice a day to keep that fresh in your mind, to reassure your body and your mind that not everything is going terribly wrong. Right. Column number 2 is I call it the growth and guidance column, because invariably in our life, the big storms come to change us, to grow us, to challenge us, to enlighten us, to bring awareness to us. And there are many, many teachers and many modalities, and especially in the Stoics, in the Stoic community, that believe that if you come out of a storm not having learned anything, it's kind of been a bit of a waste of time. So the idea is for your mind to really be able to weather a storm really well, you must find meaning in it. And that can be any type of meaning. I don't know if you have any experience, Daniela, of something where you found meaning in something, or you made meaning of something.
Well, and we could do a whole podcast, which would be fun,
Yeah.
about the meaning makers we are.
Yeah. Let me
Because
write that down.
try to find a moment in your life where the mind automatically gives meaning to everything,
Mhm.
moment by moment throughout our day. Often of the 60 to 80,000 thoughts we have on automatic autopilot throughout the day, they are statements of meaning making.
Yeah.
We are making everything mean something.
Mhm.
Now, and the brain will typically, unquestioned on automatic unconscious autopilot, will give the least empowering meaning to anything and everything moment by moment. It will
Yes.
come up with the most hurtful story about you, others, and the world.
Correct.
So, what I hear in this is that we can move from automatic unconscious meaning making into being conscious creators of the meaning we are ascribing to anything and everything. And how we can start to do that is to start to notice the meaning
Yeah,
making that's running.
yeah,
Just kind of spend 7 days listening to, you're going to hear kind of how critical you are. And so now we can start to question the meaning that we're automatically giving it. And that meaning making that's negative has a real innocence to it too, because it does come from our past wounding.
it does.
So those negative stories are arising so that we can, it's in an attempt to protect us from experiencing or feeling what we felt the last time those happened.
Mm.
So there is an innocence to it. And yet we are only pretty constantly in an inner dialogue of meaning
Correct.
and describing things.
Yeah. So the meaning that I encourage people in this column to look at is the opportunity of learning, growth, and evolution. Because that is pretty much the only thing that matters really in a storm is like you exactly like you said, is to shift the mind from the lowest common denominator meaning into a growth mindset and meaning. We focus on the things that you can see, like what are you being asked to grow into, what are you being asked to look at, how are you growing, how are you expanding. Sometimes to expand like a muscle you need to rip something up, so sometimes something is decaying for something else to grow. So in this column of the Wonder Wall, it is all about how are you being forced to or invited to grow, to become more aware, to become more skilled. Like for instance, when I went through my big storm, the learning definitely came from, oh my goodness, now I need to step into finding out about my body and health and nutrition and lab work and what is actually going on in my body and how do I heal. So that was a huge invitation to learn. And then the complete dissolution of my marriage was the holy moly, what just happened here? Where is my blind spot? What am I learning? What am I being forced to look at? And so then I learned all about attachment theory and things like that. So whenever there is a storm doesn't just come to destroy you. Never, ever. It is always something that also brings clearing for you to step into this new, elevated, if you so choose to, version of yourself where you now can grow into the next level. And that you can get into by looking at what is the invitation to grow and to expand and to learn and to move forward in this storm.
And a question that in that vein, the language that I've always found, I felt an affinity with personally is what quality of being is this event demanding? I like demand. So
It's
for me, like that,
beautiful.
it's like, what quality of being in me is this demanding that I step into?
Yeah. And for those of you who are going through a big storm right now, just take a moment to really feel into that. Maybe you like to say it again, Daniela. What quality?
What quality of being is this storm? And it's more than an invitation.
Yeah.
Storms don't invite. That's a
So
little springtime sprinkle. That's an invitation.
springtime sprinkle.
Category 5 is a demand.
Yeah, it's in
And
your face. Yeah.
you that know, I've shared this many times over the years, The Invitation by Dorothy Hunt, not the Oriah Mountain Dreamer version. The invitation, when you invite God, Goddess to come into your home, she doesn't, for a little while, she just stays and has a nice cup of tea with you. But then it's a complete demolition, right, of everything you thought you were of your personality.
Yeah.
So what quality of being is this event
Mhm.
demanding I develop in myself? It is a rigor of development, and it is only here for us. Like
Absolutely.
without exception. And if we haven't found it yet, just then it hasn't revealed itself to you yet. Just stay in it. Stay in it.
Absolutely.
Because eventually it reveals itself. And how I've always known, my litmus for, okay, I'm on the shores it's not necessarily because the sky is sunny again. It's when I can authentically say, thank you for what has happened, for what has been, and a full yes to all that is coming, with also without exception.
Also without exception, for sure. Beautiful, beautiful, absolutely. So once we've gotten into the understanding that storms don't come to destroy us, they come to destroy the outdated, inauthentic, and no
That
longer
which are
required,
not. Yes.
yeah, no longer required version of our lives, ourselves, our worlds, our relationships, our friendships, so that the new can be built on a clean slate. The third column is then your vision forward, really. Now, in this vision forward, the key parts that I really like to focus on is three questions. Who in this new paradigm that you're stepping into, who do you want to be? So that's the quality of person and characteristics you want to embody. What do you want to do with your precious time? What do you want to do with the time that you have? And what do you want to have in return? That can be tangible things, intangible things, but it's like that beautiful structure of be, do, and have really sums up your entire being in the world, that you are in communion with life. You give and you receive and you are and you embody. So what is this new energy that you want to step into? Now, because I was so ill, the idea that I was ever going to get better really was tough to visualize. So actually, the only thing I put in that column for many, many years are the three things that are most important to me. And that is connection, communication, and compassion. That was all that was on that list for me for many, many years. And for many years, I kind of looked at it and gone, oh, well, this is just never going to end. And especially with severe illness, it looks like there's never going to be anything different. But then when you start to look at how is the storm that you're in growing you more into these things, either the capacity to be, do, and have, or your ability to be more deeper, stronger, wider in that place of connection, communication, and compassion, then I started to see, oh, wait a second. Yes, the storm isn't breaking me. What is breaking are the barriers that I have built within myself, like that Rumi quote, that is actually blocking me from true, deep, raw, authentic connection, compassion, and communication. And that it undoubtedly did. And maybe because I'm a bit of a stubborn creature, it had to be a storm at category 5 for a decade.
Well, then that's where we enter Raina and our Raina, Lori, and our favorite astrologers that will say this was the as Stephanie says, this was the roller coaster ride of this incarnation.
Yeah, for sure. And
Some of
actually,
us, some of us get the little choo-choo train one, right? And some of us get the Busch Gardens big bad wolf. Like that's
for those of you that are not in America, it sounds like a very scary ride. Is that it? It's like a terrifying ride.
terrific.
Brilliant. And I often say to people, it is incredibly helpful when you are going through those really big storms to get in touch with Raina and have a look at the transits of what is happening. The transit is just a really beautiful way of looking at what are the themes and the flavors of your life right now. And it's not, astrology is not predictive. They are not psychics. It's not going to be, you will I don't know, find your answer next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. No, it's about the themes and the flavors. But what I find even more helpful about it is that it gives you an idea of, especially through the North Node, not only where is this storm trying to lead you, but also what kind of awareness should you be focusing on at the moment. And that can be so unbelievably helpful.
Yep, it's
Um,
game changing. It's
it,
literally
it, it's
changing.
huge. It's huge. If you want to then take the wonder wall to the next level, you can by taking a new piece of paper and making those 3 columns again. And I did that, and I do that with all my clients. The first column, you write down your commitment to self-care, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. Bodily self-care. You write down 3 things that you absolutely want to take care of every single day. The next column is going to be 3 things that you need to watch yourself, like if you isolate yourself too much, or if you start binging on too much crap food, or you stop getting up and showering. So what are the things that you need to watch out for? And then, of course, the third column is all about what you absolutely know is going to make you feel better. So that's kind of just an extra level. So should we talk about things that you can do every single day that are going to be physically stabilizing you in a storm?
Yeah, and I think this is again where there are the obvious basics that everybody knows, and if you're not doing those, start there.
Completely.
If you are not hydrated, what's the quality of your hydration? What's the quality of when you're breathing throughout the day? Is your breath coming into your abdomen so you can literally be in the parasympathetic system of rest and relax, or are you noticing is your breathing up in your head oriented, or is it chest?
Something has frozen. I'm not sure whether you can hear me or Daniela. Let's have a look. Just hang in there with us. Right. Well, it seems like I are you back again? I don't think I can hear you, Daniela. You
Oh,
might have to.
there we
There
go.
we go. Oh, can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes. Thank you,
Fantastic.
Christopher. Um, so, how are you
Breathing.
nourishing your body? What are the things you're bringing into your system? How much or how little are you moving? Are you experiencing a sedentary state, truth be told? And a very important question that I found for myself was when I was my storm was coming, many of the things I'm mentioning were off, not the hydration. I've always been a really epic hydrator, thank you. Um, However, I found I couldn't do the things. And that told me, oh, there's something else going on. I'm not moving to the degree that I used to, and I can't make myself. Well, I would, and then I would suffer. So we want to be so oriented to the foundational basics that when we can't do them, that is a huge red flag.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And just to sum up the basic again, it was breathing, hydration, movement, food, just really good quality food.
Yeah, how real is your food and what's the quality of your food? How much of it is processed, meaning comes from a bag or a box, does it
Yeah.
crinkle?
Doesn't crinkle. Yeah.
And how much sugar? Because our bodies literally need zero sugar. And a whole other webinar is the USDA recommendations and food guidelines, right?
Oh dear.
They say for a woman in midlife, do not exceed like 23 grams of sugar. And if you have a glass of orange juice in the morning, there it
That's
goes.
it. There
If
it
you
goes.
have a Franken orange, because all of our fruits are so genetically modified, they're ginormous, and bananas are like this big now. That's it. That's it for the day. Done. So,
I
yeah.
would also put sleep in there, but it's obviously sometimes sleep is really difficult when you're in a stressful state. But sleep hygiene, try and go to bed at the same time. Don't be on blue screens. Do enough activity during the day. First thing in the morning, get up and outside into actual daylight to be able to reset your circadian rhythm. So for me, sleep is also in the basic
Yes.
five.
And when your sleep is interrupted, again, that's data. That's data to
Yeah,
pay attention to
yeah,
because it can tell you interrupted sleep, frequent peeing can be anything from your cortisol levels are challenged or mold, right? Creates, as
yeah.
you
For me, it
shared,
was mold. Yeah,
frequent urinating at night. So interruptions in your sleep is
yeah,
really important data to pay attention to. So these are the five foundations really of basic physical self-care. And then upon that, each of us will have unique things that really matter to us.
yeah. Well, that's where the one that became my hot favorite, that is still to this day, which is havening. I know I talk about it a lot. It is a psychosensory tool, which means the body and the mind together. And it is basically just the touch of your hands, the rhythmic, maternal, intentional touch of the hands, rubbing up against each other very slowly, for those of you on the podcast, or the gentle stroking of the arms from the shoulder down into the crease, or the very gentle touch over your face, down the cheeks, on the neck. So these are the three different kinds of havening touch. And when you do them in a very slow, intentional, maternal, rhythmic way, it has the ability to very quickly nervous regulate yourself down from a very high, zingy, buzzy kind of energy down into a very nice grounded level. And it's also a type of emotional first aid. I use it personally in the morning when I get up and before I go to sleep, and as well whenever I feel an intense emotion rise up, whether that is fear, anger, sadness, anything that overwhelms me in the moment. And what's so great about the havening is you don't need a book, you don't need a podcast, you don't need anything. You just need your hands, and you're like a self-cleaning oven. You have the ability to self-regulate. Obviously, it's fun to phone your friend and co-regulate, but it is also completely possible to nervous system regulate by yourself. Because sometimes, like, you might be in a position where I was alone in bed by myself. There was nobody else. So I needed to learn to self-regulate on my own. So that is my favorite nervous system regulation tool. But there are many others. Daniela, what kind of others are there? There's definitely breath
Yep.
work.
Yeah, mine is always the go-to breath, breathing in. Hi, Raina. We were just talking about you. Raina just joined. For me, it is all about where am I breathing into my body. And so pairing up for me, I like this move of the havening. I like the back and forth rhythmic hands. And if I let my gaze go inward and soften, and I
Mhm.
just find myself breathing into my belly, because when I first met um, Christopher, I was a reverse breather, meaning
Oh,
when I would inhale, my belly would go in. So, friends, here's a fun
wow.
fact, right? Here's a fun fact and a little test you can do for yourself, a little like baseline, if you will. You can just let your belly soften, like make it like really nice and soft and kind of like your Buddha belly, and put your hands just gently on your belly and taking a full breath in. Does your belly go outward even just a tiny bit, or does it come in towards your navel? What we want is for the belly to expand when we inhale. And if you're not sure, you can try that lying down. It'll give you even the better baseline because you'll feel your hands even just rising up just a teensy bit, right? For your when your belly expands. And then when you exhale, the belly retracts. It moves closer, it moves more towards your navel moves towards your spine. So for me, blending, letting my gaze soften and just breathing into my belly. If you want to Google about it or go to YouTube, you could type in diaphragmatic breathing and 3 to 5 minutes of belly breathing where the exhale is naturally going to be longer than the inhale. It just happens on its own. You don't have to count. I don't like counting breathing because then I just spend the whole time not relaxed counting. And I know people that love box breathing, they love it. So you want to sample different practices to see what you love. What does your body absorb like a sponge? And so that for me is always my go-to.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last point that I really want to speak about when it comes to resilience is the concept of what does this storm land on in your mind already? So in the land of havening, we have this acronym called EMLI or EMLIS, where it's EMLIS, which are the 5 conditions that need to be present for something to become overwhelming or something to become traumatic. Because we know from research that not every event is overwhelming or traumatic. Like, for instance, 2 people can be in the backseat of the car involved in a car accident, and one finds it traumatic, the other one doesn't. So there are certain conditions that your brain has to sort of tick off before it then downloads it as something traumatic. So E must be the event. So the event, there must be an event of some kind, an experience, an event that is coupled with a very intense emotion. That's the first thing. The second of it is the meaning that your brain is making. We've already discussed the meaning, like, is this is bad, or this is terrible, or I'm not going to survive this. So the meaning your brain is making. And the most important part is here, you can change the meaning, absolutely. But the third thing is really the most important thing, and that is called the landing or the landscape. So for instance, you are in a current storm, let's say that's a divorce or a business falling apart or financial issues. If you've never gone through something traumatic before and it's not landing on anything traumatic in the past, it might be that your body just shrugs it off. If, however, like in my case, it is already landing on a huge pile of childhood adverse effects, adverse experiences, and then a huge pile of other traumatic experiences or overwhelming stresses, then your body is going to be more likely to be overwhelmed and to not be able to process it as is. So L is all about what is it, the landscape it is landing on. And this is why I always say the most important investment you can make in your resilience is to clear out the pile beforehand. Because we already know that if you have, let's say that you're carrying a big bowl of stuff already, anything else that drops into is going to destabilize you. So you must invest in clearing out the past event, overwhelming life events, the trauma of your childhood, the stuff that you've shoved to the back of the fridge or the back of the shelf, because then anything you go through in the future is going to be so much simpler and easier for you and your brain to handle. So that is really important. And then the EMLI is the level of inescapability that you perceive, and S is support. But the key element in that little checklist before your mind downloads this as something traumatic is, what is it landing on that hasn't been processed before that now is just going to make that whole thing tip over?
Brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah. So please take the time to get closure on the overwhelming life events, on the everyday stresses. I offer everybody a 30-minute free intro and assessment where we just map out some of the big things that have happened to you that most of the time people go, oh, I didn't remember that one. Just because you don't remember it doesn't mean it's not sitting under the threshold of your conscious awareness, eating up your presence, your creativity, your connection. On the physical side, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your inflammation, your cortisol, all that stuff. Just because it's not at the forefront of your mind doesn't mean it isn't still sitting there, idling, unprocessed, unhealed, unlooked at.
I love that. And I like that. I like MLIS as a litmus for if you really are curious, wow, I don't really know if this event that happened was traumatic. Do I have
Yeah,
trauma? Was it traumatic?
yeah, yeah,
Just go through the MLIS process,
yeah,
right? And if you're like, oh, yup, and yup, and
yeah,
yup,
yeah,
that very likely is still impacting you in some way. And how do we know it's impacting us?
yeah,
It reveals itself in
yeah.
our relationships. That is always
Absolutely.
where it's going to reveal
I would,
itself, and in our bodies, right?
yeah,
Our relationship with
yeah,
ourselves, our body, our friends, our partners, our family members, our colleagues, our coworkers, our
Yes,
neighbors.
yes.
The state of our well-being is always reflected back to us in our relation, in the state and quality of our relationships.
Absolutely. I always say it affects deeply your mental health, your mindset, your mental health, your mental capacity, things like creativity, things like presence, things like clarity, things like brain fog. Absolutely. Also, your physical health, without a doubt. We know that all sorts of diseases are linked to unprocessed emotions and overwhelming life events that are still stuck at the back of your head. And then your relationships with your body, your friends, yourself, your self esteem. It impacts absolutely every part of your life in that 30-minute free intro. And the reason why I call it assessment is because we map out the difficult, overwhelming life things that have happened to you. And then we muscle test. We don't guess, we ask the physical body, is this completely cleared? Yes, no. Muscle testing comes from a long history of kinesiology and body work, where the body is strong when something is true and is in a weakened state when it's not true. And you can absolutely gain a complete clarity on what is halfway done, what is three-quarters done, what still needs a little bit more, and what was really to your brain, not just to your awareness, a really big life event or a really big stress or trauma. So we check, we don't guess.
Let's put down on your list muscle testing as well that we
Muscle testing. I'm going to put it on the
yeah,
list now.
let's do that on one of our conversations and go
Yeah,
and work through it. And I'm a good test subject for it because remember in one of our sessions recently, you're like, let's muscle test that. I'm like, I don't trust my muscle testing capacities.
yeah.
So
Which
I'll be like the perfect.
the added element to it is because of the magic of energy, you don't have to trust you because I can tap into your energy system and I can check on your behalf. So it isn't affected by location or energy. Even if we are talking to each other over Zoom, I will always double check it for you.
Love. Let's do that. That would be fun.
Fantastic.
There's one other thing before we complete this conversation I wanted to talk about with as it relates to resilience. And that is how impactful each one of us can be in the resilience of another.
Oh, I love that.
I was in the shower earlier and I was thinking about there was a study back when I think I was doing my master's in health education. I was in my 20s and character education was big in the American schools. It was a big unit. I wish they'd stayed with it. I mean, polishing the character of your character, that's like my heaven. I thought it would stay forever because I'm like, this is as sexy and cool as it gets. Like, it was like, you're gone. Like, nobody cared about character development, allegedly, except for you and me. And resilience was a big topic at the time. This was in the early 2000s. So, character development and resilience. And I remember one of the most significant studies on resilience back then came out, and it blew my mind. It always stayed with me. And as I'm sharing this, friends, think about who this person was in your life, right? It doesn't take much. That one of the most important and significant predictors of resilience in life is one person in your world that isn't your mom or dad or your immediate like caregiver, your immediate really parents. This is going to blow your mind, friends. It only takes 15 minutes of someone outside of your immediate caregiving family of origin circuit who authentically delivers to you the unwavering care and belief in your greatness.
Beautiful. Wow. Chills.
And so whenever you can, this is one of those examples, and this is why it's so important. Whenever you have time with children that are not yours, because you can't be that person for your children. So, right, like, so give up, try to be that person. Let someone else do that for your children. Focus on the village, focus on other people's children. I love like catching people in action doing something wonderful.
Mhm.
Or like they don't know, maybe you're watching, you say, like, like, Bobby, I just wanted you to know that I noticed how patient and caring you were with so and so. And I just, wow, that was really inspiring. That was beautiful. I just want you to know I noticed that. Like these moments, I hear so many stories from my students and clients of the one thing, right? The one thing or the several things that someone said that either tore them down like that in
Yeah,
5 minutes,
yeah,
or 5 minutes of a dialogue that stayed with them their entire life in the most profound. That person could never know in that conversation
yeah,
how impactful
absolutely.
that will be for that person, for that soul, for
Mm,
the rest of their incarnation.
mm,
And our there's fancy language for it in the spiritual circles. The Maitreka Shakti, the Shakti, the power of language and the power of language that goes through the heart first and then is offered to
mm,
another.
yeah,
It changes lives. It is a balm that carries them for their whole incarnation.
absolutely.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that sentence? Be the light in someone else's darkness. And
My
that
and
is
said,
really
be somebody, be the rainbow in their storm.
be the rainbow in the storm. The be the one who lights the match when it is so dark that they've lost every piece of hope.
Yep.
And in my story, in my storm, that was the thing that got me back out because I found havening and I started giving my support to others, even though my life was falling apart left, right, and center. And it stabilized me so incredibly that I could be in this utter destruction that I was going to, that I could be in service of someone else. It was literally my reason for living. And it is to this day the reason I get up and I breathe every single day. And I'm so grateful for my storm that it lit that for me, and it will forever be burning in my heart and soul. So thank you for being here with us today and letting us do this and bringing hopefully a little light to all of you and to inspire you to be the light in somebody else's story too.
Hmm. And since we are here in the 3D realm that is an action-oriented realm, I just want to invite anyone that's listening that if you're like, oh, if you felt a stirring with any part of that conversation, especially about who people have been to support your resilience, let them know.
Yeah.
Whenever I write, in the last 10 years, I wrote my third grade teacher. I had my health teacher in high school was one of those people for me. And fast forward, then we got to, because of who he was for me, when I was teaching at SUNY Cortland in the grad studies, we co-taught a graduate class together. He came, he drove out
Wow.
3 hours for us to co-teach, right? Because I was in the field of health education. He was my inspiration. And I don't remember one single actual conversation he and I had in high school. I just know that we talked lots, but I don't remember a single word of what they were. He does. I don't have a memory of it, but that's still.
Yeah.
My point is, if you want to take this into the realm of action, anyone that comes to mind, let them know the difference that they made in your life. It can be a private message, it can be an email, it could be a voice memo. To do a little sleuthing, find someone, find a way to let them know because people want to know that their lives mattered and made a difference. And what 80-year-old teacher wouldn't love to hear from their third grade student from
Yeah.
1980?
Yeah.
What a difference that photo, that empty album made
Yes.
to put my writings in, right?
Beautiful.
Like in my lifetime. So anyone that has made a difference for you,
And
let them know.
absolutely. And I will add also that I would also invite people just to let the people that you see all day, every day, that we've become so used to, you
Yeah,
know, the people that we walk past, the people we live with, because familiarity does not
brilliant.
give light to those special moments. So maybe also keep in mind those people that you discount every day because they're there next to you, your partners, your friends, your spouses, your children, your family, your neighbors, the people right next to you. Just take a moment of presence and thank them for, or just tell them how you admire them, because in our society, because we consume so much media, we've gotten into a place of consumption and voyeurism more, where we just watch and we don't comment and we don't connect. So this is your invitation just to also um, thank those people right around.
Or whenever you talk to someone on the phone who has helped you in customers in some customer service capacity,
Yeah,
and they've been patient and they've been thorough,
yeah,
always say, who may I contact on your behalf to let them know how amazing you've been? Because
you,
managers tend to get complaints all the
yeah,
time. So send them fun mail. I
right,
want you to know that Bob was so exceptional. Your organization is lucky that Bob has chosen to work with you and for you. Go out of your way. It doesn't take much, and it matters. This is the fabric of our daily life. It is our spiritual life, and our spiritual life is our emotional life. Your
absolutely
spiritual life and your emotional life are one and the same.
beautiful,
They're not separate. So these are the ways that this is where our life is happening in its aliveness. And it's in these moment to moment moments.
beautiful.
All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for spending this last hour with us, and and we really appreciate you. And we love being with you.
We
And
do.
I love you, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
Okay. We'll see you all soon, friends. Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye
Mwah.
for now.